Hi, Augie here. Sorry for the delay in posting. Life happens. Anyway, here's more accidental time travel and the mayhem that comes with it. By me, the Foggy London View. Enjoy! Chapter 3. Mikumo had taken his hood and mask off once he was out of sight of UA's cameras. There's no point in ending the mystery prematurely, after all. Then stopped by the bank to get his new bank card. After that, he bought a new train pass and hit the mall briefly so he had something to wear besides his hero suit. Not that his hero suit isn't comfy, but he's not quite enough of a heathen to just wear his hero costume all day like Shouta does. He dunked that man in the bath fully clothed, while he and Eri verbally shamed him for being stinky many a times. Eventually, Shouta even started wearing normal clothes because of it. He'd still get dunked every so often, for old time's sake, regardless, as is tradition. In addition to a few changes of clothes, he got toiletries, a switch, and some games to keep himself amused. A new phone, his one from 15 years in the future, definitely isn't working now, and a sleeping bag much like Shota's, only it's every color of neon. Mikumo had been gleeful at the way the cashier had barely been able to even look at his abomination to camping supplies. He also bought an air mattress, but that's less fun. His abomination sleeping bag is great for naps, sure, but its secret purpose is to take the attention off Shota's yellow abomination sleeping bag. In the future, he'd always bought sleeping bags that were essentially crimes on the eyes, so people would stop messing with Shota's and bother him instead. His friend got so much more sleep that way, and petty revenge in the workplace decreased 15%. If he's honest, Mikumo misses Shouta. His Shouta, already. His best friend and hero partner, who he knew he could trust to respect his decisions about his life and identity, and so told him the truth when he'd asked. At the same time, it was just so relieving to be able to be Mikumo Shimura without having to worry that someone from his past would realize who he'd once been and make a huge deal out of it. He'd worried they would throw a fit and ruin everything he'd built, or worse, they'd tell Yagi and force him into a conversation he really didn't want to have. So, this situation, while not ideal, is a truer restart than he could have ever asked for. On the bright side, Shouta still exists at this point in time, so all Mikumo has to do is make friends with him again, and they're the same age now, which should make it a bit easier. Figuring he was carrying enough, he traveled to his new apartment. He was very particular about which apartment he wanted, and thankfully, Nezu hadn't asked why, trusting the reason to be sufficiently chaotic, which it was. One chat with the landlord later, he had his keys and was heading up to unlock his new apartment. It's been a long time since he's been to this apartment complex, and it drew out bittersweet nostalgia for his old identity. He was quick to push past the feeling. There was time for that after a shower and a nap. He just shoved his key in the lock when the door to the apartment next to him opened, and a woman came out with a watering can, presumably to take care of the few potted plants by her door. She was quick to notice him and his house key in the door, however, and soon they were making eye contact. "Oh, hello!" She smiled at him. "Are you our new neighbor?" "Haha, yep, got this place just this morning," Mikumo grinned. "And don't worry if you see me leaving at weird times going through the window. I'm a hero with nighttime shifts, so I'm coming and going at odd hours." "Oh, my son is probably going to camp out at your door to ask you all kinds of questions as soon as he finds out you're a hero," the woman laughed. "I'm Midoriya, by the way. I live here with my son Izuku. He's at school right now, but I'm sure he'll be ecstatic to hear we live next to a hero now." "Mikumo Shimura," Mikumo said. "It's a pleasure." Yep, he moved in right next door to his teenage self. See, while his memory of his teenage years isn't the best, thanks head trauma, he does specifically remember that the apartment next to his mother's was empty for a long time. The neighbor's 4-year-old had manifested a destructive quirk and had wrecked the place during a tantrum, leading to them moving out and months of remodeling before the apartment could be put up for rent again. It was much nicer after the remodel, but also more expensive to rent, leading into it being very hard to sell. All the better for him to sow chaos at the base level. What he didn't expect was for Inko's eyes to turn sharp. "Did you say Shimura?" Yes," Mikumo confirmed. "Is that a problem?" "Not at all," Inko positively beamed. "Actually, and this may sound a bit crazy, I'm Shimura by birth. There was an incident with my uncle and aunt leading to my mother giving me up for protection. I've tried to look up if I have any family left, but our records look like they're a victim of a child who got very enthusiastic with scissors and whiteout. Inko laughed. More or less. Would you be willing to come over for tea and discuss this? Shimura isn't a common name, so for all we know, we might be related. I'd love to, but you'll have to give me a few hours. I haven't slept since last night's shift yet, and desperately need a shower, Mikumo stated, too used to rolling with the punches to be faced that it took traveling back in time to learn he's legitimately a Shimura. Of course, Inko agreed instantly. Mikumo smiled. Thanks, I'll try to make it over about 2:30. Wonderful, see you then, Inko said cheerfully. Mikumo walked into his new apartment, set his bags down, and made sure the door was closed before turning to face Nana. You have until 2:30 to come up with as much family history and or believable lies about your family history to convince my mother we're long lost something or others. Opportunities for chaos don't fall into our lap like this every day, and there's no goddamn way we're passing this up. Nana gave a salute. Aye, aye, Captain. Any requests? Nothing specific, Mikumo thought for a moment. Just that I want to be the weirdest uncle I never had to my teenage self. He needs a morally gray and decently dubious influence in his life. Like us, Yoichi replied proudly. Exactly. Once you were all fully unlocked, you guys were horrible influences, Mikumo agreed. It was exactly what I needed. Mikumo set up the air mattress to inflate, then grabbed some of his new clothes and towels along with his toiletries and went to take a well-deserved shower. He wasn't all that gross, but jumping rooftops and kicking ass all night always works up a sweat, so it was nice to get clean all the same. Standing under the hot water, he once again appreciated the range his ghosts have, so they aren't hanging around in the bathroom with him. His ghosts have thankfully long since learned when not to be in the room, and mostly respect his privacy where it matters. Mikumo might not particularly have any sense of shame, but he's still happy he can do things like use the bathroom and get laid without an audience. He walked out of the bathroom in a fresh set of boxers and a towel around his shoulders. The air mattress was almost full, while Nana was in the corner making a poster board family tree out of astral ghost energy with Kojo and En's help, while Banjo was trying to wrestle a red ghost pen away from Yoichi. The ghosts figuring out how to use tiny sparks of One For All's power to make items out of astral energy that can only affect them really did wonders to keep them amused once their presence wasn't exclusive to the mindscape. Mikumo plugged in his new phone to charge and set an alarm, then set up his switch while the air mattress finished inflating. Once it was full, he grabbed his neon sleeping bag and settled down on the mattress to take a goddamn nap. The conversation with Inko is going to require him to be slightly less unhinged than he can manage on no sleep. Izuku had been having a relatively normal day so far, if a little better than most, and hadn't really been expecting that to change. Middle school sucked as usual, but he only got a few bruises, mostly because Ka-chan had left early for a dentist appointment. So, overall, not too bad of a day. He didn't really expect that to change, and expected the usual routine when he got home. You know, greeting his mom, retreating to his room to fix himself up if needed, do homework, watch hero news, eat dinner, the usual. What he wasn't expecting was to walk into his apartment to find his mom at the kitchen table with some guy he's never seen before, looking excited. They were surrounded by papers covered in scribbles and diagrams. What's going on? The sound of the front door closing made Inko look up and notice he was home. She smiled excitedly at him and gestured him over quickly. Izuku, baby, perfect timing. Come over here. I have exciting news. Izuku walked closer, still not quite sure what was going on. What's up? Izuku, I want you to meet our new neighbor, Mikumo Shimura, Inko introduced the man. He's your uncle. My uncle? Izuku questioned. But I thought you and Dad didn't have any siblings. I never told you this, but I'm actually adopted. My original last name was Shimura. All I could ever find on my family was that I was giving up as a baby due to something happening with my aunt and uncle, so when Mikumo introduced himself as a Shimura, I immediately asked him over to compare family history, Inko explained sheepishly. It turns out he's my younger brother, which makes him your uncle. Izuku kinda just stared at the two adults. Huh? Oh, and something you'll love, Inko continued. He's a hero! Huh? Izuku repeated. Izuku took his gaze off his very excited mother to the man lounging in the kitchen chair beside her. He was tall, probably 6 foot, and clearly made of solid muscle. The resemblance to them was clear enough, though the man's, Mikumo's, green eyes gazed at him lazily, and his hair was green as well, though that was a bit more difficult to tell with his close-cropped undercut making it appear much, much darker. Mikumo even had freckles. He was wearing a horrible, loose pink button-up, with neon swirlies strewn across it in patterns that were hard to look at, and purple jorts. Izuku honestly didn't know how to respond to this. How was he supposed to respond to the uncle he didn't know he had, moving in next door and suddenly being in his life? Mikumo gave him a lazy grin. "Nice to meet you, kid. Just call me Uncle Miku. No need for formalities." "I'm gonna start making dinner," Inko said happily. "Why don't you boys get to know each other a bit in the living room while I cook? Mikumo, will you be staying for dinner?" "I have no food in my apartment, so I'd love to," Mikumo said, standing and casually stretching before gesturing to Izuku. "Come on, kid, let's chat." Okay. Izuku glanced between the adults. "Let me put my stuff up real quick." Izuku quickly retreats to his bedroom. He puts his things away and changes out of his school uniform into normal clothes. After that, he paused. Mama had said Uncle Miku was a hero, so should he get his autograph? Would he let him analyze his quirk if he asked really nicely? Should he bring out his analysis books? Would Uncle Miku even be interested in that? Well, most people seem to think his analysis is stupid and creepy, so maybe he should wait to feel that one out first. He's not sure he could handle his uncle saying it's stupid too. Just in case, Izuku grabbed a fresh notebook and a pen before walking out to the living room. He really hopes Uncle Miku is nice, especially since he's actually getting a bit excited now that he's had a few minutes to process the whole situation. It might be nice to have more family around than just his mom. And with his uncle living next door now, a logical assumption since it had been the only available apartment, he was sure to be around quite a bit now. Plus, Mama had clearly been excited about finding a brother she hadn't known she had, so Uncle Miku was sure to be included in family time as much as possible. Hesitantly, Izuku had sat down on the sofa, taking the opposite end as Uncle Miku, who grinned at him lazily. "So you're a hero?" Izuku asked after a moment, deciding to stick to subjects he's comfortable with. "Underground pro-hero mayhem, at your service," Uncle Miku replied cheerfully with a mock salute. "Don't go spreading it around, though. Under's careers depend on not being noted in the general public." Of course, I won't tell, I promise," Izuku was quick to assure. "Relax, kid, I believe you." Uncle Miku reached across the sofa to somewhat roughly but affectionately ruffle Izuku's hair. Izuku wasn't really used to that kind of rough affection. Inko mostly stuck to hugs and coddling, but he found he didn't mind it all that much. There was no malice in his actions, and actually, the gesture made him feel strong in a weird way. Everyone calls him weak or fragile, but Uncle Miku put strength behind his gesture. Like he didn't think he needed to be gentle with his affection. Like he didn't need to tone it down because Izuku could hold his own. Izuku had never imagined something so small and probably insignificant could really make him feel so much more comfortable with someone. Then again, maybe Uncle Miku just didn't know he's quirkless. "What's your quirk?" Izuku asked. Uncle Miku laughed. "I call it party tricks. I have 7 quirk-like tricks that I can use solo or in combination. For example, this trick is called Black Whip. A black tendril shot out from under Uncle Miku's sleeve and gently booped Izuku on the nose before dissipating. And of course, another party trick called Energy Stockpile gives me this cool electric effect." Uncle Miku snapped his fingers gently, barely more than a rubbing of fingers, but green sparks still shot across his fingers with the motion, and the air pressure of the room changed just enough to make Izuku's ears pop. Izuku's eyes lit up with stars at the possibilities just with these 2 aspects, and Uncle Miku had said he had 5 more tricks on top of that. There's so much potential there. This was going to be so fun to analyze if Uncle Miku was willing to let him. "That's so cool," Izuku praised. "I bet villains don't stand a chance against you. What are the other 5 aspects?" "Maybe I'll show you sometime," Uncle Miku agreed amusedly. "It's not really safe to use indoors for the most part. Actually, it's too powerful to use against villains half the time, so I mostly do my job quirkless. That snap I showed you was only about 0.1% power. If I went all out, full power, with all 7 tricks at once, I could level Tokyo." Izuku's eyes widened. "Whoa, if your quirk is that powerful and flashy, why didn't you become a limelight hero? People would probably have liked your tricks, and you can clearly limit your power easily." "I'll tell you a secret. Uncle Miku leaned in close conspiratorially. All records and coverage of it was erased when I switched to Underground, which is normal protocol, but I started out as a Limelighter. Why'd you switch over? Izuku couldn't help but be drawn in. 2 reasons, kid, Uncle Miku said with a grin. First, media attention wasn't conducive to being my true self. I'm not a fit to be a media darling. I can fake it, sure. I wore a metaphorical mask for most of my life to try and get people to like me, but faking it ain't no way to live your life. It's hollow and dull and wears on you. Besides, why be the bigger person every time when it's way more fun to send assholes boxes of spiders instead? Izuku desperately tried not to show how close to home that hit, especially the spiders thing. He's been faking it around people since forever in the hopes of finding someone who'd look past his quirk status. Also, he hasn't known Uncle Miku long enough to tell him about the colony of wolf spiders he's been cultivating for the express purpose of mail-order retribution. He really can't afford to find out Uncle Miku was joking and ruin this relationship before it starts just because Izuku likes unconventional forms of revenge. What's the second reason? Izuku diverts instead of addressing any of that. Uncle Miku's grin goes impossibly wide. I'm haunted! Thanks for listening. If you can't tell, I have gotten a new mic as of about last week, which is why the intros and outros of this video are so much clearer and better quality than the fake recording. So, once we get up to current times in my recordings of the fics I read, the audio quality will get better too. I do all of these recordings live because I cannot do it without an audience. So we'll just have to make do with what we have for now. But I hope you can endure the not as great audio from back in February. Thank you. All of these recordings are done live on Discord, though. Links to my Discord can be found in the endnotes of the latest chapter of most of my fanfiction on AO3, if you are interested in that.